we are hearing. I'm calling Dr. Ravi. I don't know who is this.
Are you letting people in soon or no? That's okay.
Now it's only 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ravi's not online yet.
Not yet. I sent one message. Hi. Hi. I'm just waiting for him to. I think he's trying as he's online.
Maybe I should do this in another room.
Okay. It's here. Hello, sir. So you're on mute, sir.
Sorry. Yeah. So all set?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Should I add people now, sir? It's already 2 p.m.
Is it 2 p.m. sharp now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you should. Yeah, allow everyone to enter. And we should wait till we have about 20-25 people.
Sure, sir. I will wait another 2-3 minutes.
How many have joined by now? Only 19. Not bad. I hope more people will join with time.
Sure, sir.
Nigel has joined.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Nigel. How are you? Thanks for joining.
All good.
Great to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
Hello, Dr. Ravi ji.
Hello, Dr. Saleh. How are you?
You were traveling?
Yeah, I'm traveling from Naushindi to Dhaka. I'm here in Bangladesh.
I see. Okay. Humaira, how are you?
Fine, sir. How about you?
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh
you,
my
sir.
God. We should start now, I believe.
Sure, sir. It's already 2 yeah. Okay, here is like okay, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you joining us today for the 7th session of the APARI Public-Private Partnership Community of Practice. And I'm delighted to see all of you from across the region who committed to advancing our shared agenda of strengthening PPPs in agriculture and agri-food system. Before we move into today's exciting discussion, allow me to briefly recap the key highlights from our 6th session. That session was a vibrant exchange of ideas where we explored how PPPs can move beyond contracts and become true partnerships, shared journeys of risk, responsibility, and reward. 3 themes stood out from the discussion: the importance of trust and long-term commitment, the need for co-design and co-ownership of solutions, and scaling successful models beyond pilots to achieve system-wide change. We heard from Dr. Guru Raj, who emphasized aligning goals, settling fair governance structures, and creating incentives for innovation. Dr. Murat then reminded us that PPPs should not remain country-specific, but must embrace regional collaboration and open innovation platforms to amplify their impact. The session also became highly interactive with participants sharing both optimism and hard realities. Some warned us with examples of abandoned PPP projects, while others pointed to opportunities in post-harvest cold chains and agripreneurship. A particularly strong message was the need for pre-competitive research collaboration where public and private actors pool efforts without competing, thereby building trust. Despite the candid reflections, the session ended on a note of optimism and shared commitment. The clear takeaway was that PPPs can truly be transformative if built on trust, clarity, and shared ownership. With those reflections in mind, let us now turn to today's session, which promises to be equally engaging. We are honored to have with us Dr. Nigel Cram, who will deliver a keynote on strengthening potato production through regional collaboration and harmonized phytosanitary conditions. This is a timely and critical topic as potato is a strategic crop across our region, and regional collaboration is key to unlocking its full potential. So without further delay, I'm pleased to hand over to our Executive Director, Dr. Ravi Khetapal, for his opening remarks and to introduce today's distinguished speaker. And their friendly instructions: if you want to speak or ask any questions, please use the chat box and be mute until you have any speaking. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Humaira. Am I audible? Am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes, sir. You are
Yes,
audible.
yes.
Okay. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, for joining the COP. And Humaira has given a brief, succinct summary of what the COP is and who is going to speak today. I may only like to say here, this COP, we want to grow as a big family with time because we are covering most of the important aspects of public-private partnership one by one. And also now we are going to have next COP of this public-private partnership in partnership with CropLife International and with SKDF WTO, who have equally shown interest to partner in this COP. Now, without wasting much time, let me welcome uh, Nigel Crump, Dr. Nigel Crump, who is a plant pathologist by background and a potato crop specialist. He is right now serving as a general manager in Australian Seed Potato Industry Certification Agency. And also, he is a director of Potatoes Australia Limited. He leads potato certification across multiple states in Australia and has a vast experience in plant health, biosecurity, and certification system. He is internationally engaged, organizing the World Potato Congress as an executive member there, and also with UNECE, this is United Nations Commission for Europe, Economic Commission for Europe, uh, as a he'll be engaging in the specialized session on that. Now, he has a rich experience not only working with AUSPICA, the Australian agency, but also working with the governments, also working with the traders, and also practically what he looks at is the phytosanitary harmonization and trade application, which is a very important job in terms of export and import. So without saying much, Nigel, may I invite you? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those that strong welcome. Much appreciated. I'll just see if I can share my screen and I'll go to the presentation if I can. So just hold on while I find my presentation and share the screen. And now I should be able to do that from the beginning. So you can see my presentation. Yep.
Yes.
It's working this time. Yep. Very good. So I'm going to talk about strengthening the potato production through regional collaboration and harmonisation of phytosanitary conditions. And this is a really bold presentation, I'm going to say, because it covers a number of areas. I don't have the answers for everything, but I think I was very interested in hearing your previous discussion about looking for trust and solutions. I thought that was very, very interesting and very apt for what I'm going to be talking about today. Just a little bit about me, and I think it was covered quite well. I'm a general manager for the AUSPICA seed program, which is a not-for-profit organisation. We're not a government organisation. It's run by fee for service. 30 years ago, it was government, but it's now run by industry, and it's a fee for service organisation. I'm a director of the World Potato Congress as before, director of Potatoes Australia. I'm the co-chair for the United Nations Committee on Seed Potatoes, and a crop specialist, mostly in pathology. It was said before as well in the introduction that potatoes are a major part of the region, and global potato production, it's the third largest crop in the world. We know that potatoes have a role in food security and providing a stable nutrition source. And we know that potato is a true global crop. It's produced pretty much all around the world. And within the Asian Pacific region in particular. As I said, potatoes are a world crop, and just one advertisement for the World Potato Congress, which will be in October next year in Kenya. It's an opportunity to continue network building and discussion. So I'll just put that there as an advertorial. Andre Deveau and his colleagues have actually done studies looking or did a review on the potato, the future, the opportunistics and challenges of sustainable agri-food systems. And one of the things in their paper they actually presented was all of the inputs of potato production, and there are many: policies, financial services, soil and water, and agrochemicals. But what the main focus I'm going to be talking about is seed. And whether that's farm saved or certified, whether it's a formal seed program or an informal program. And the reason for that, potato seed is different to most crops in that it's clonally produced. So when we talk about seed, it's not true botanic seed, but the tuber that's being selected for planting. And what we do know is that that seed potatoes are a critical input. They account for up to 50% of the yield potential, and they're probably in around 30% of input costs of production is attributed to seed. And the clean seed ensures uniform crop growth, getting good quality, but poor quality generally also has issues such as introducing diseases and that compromise productivity. In a paper in plant pathology, in the British Plant Pathology Journal on seed degeneration, seed quality was talked about a number of things: seed health, genetic purity, physiological age, the size, shape, and mechanical damage, and pests and diseases. These are all attributes that generally build to a seed certification scheme. But it's also pathogens that cause degeneration and reduce production and quality over time. In that same paper, they talked about obligate issues such as PVY or mop top virus. And obligate, they mean things that are in the seed only. Facultative issues, they talked about things that were in the seed and potentially in the soil environment. And they talked about other issues which were opportunistic, which are diseases, which are all pests, which are more opportunistic in nature. But we know there's a range of diseases, many of them common to potato production around the world, many of them common in trade and phytosanitary conditions. And how do we regulate or how do we prevent these from occurring is a large attribution of seed quality and seed management. So things like potato virus Y is a common issue right around the world, and it's definitely involved in a reduction of, in some cases, up to 90% of yield and quality. Other things like quarantine diseases like bacterial wilt caused by Ralstonia can absolutely decimate crops around the world, and seed is a major mechanism of spread. Other things like potato cyst nematode in soil, Globigerina stockiensis and Globigerina pallida are major contributions to yield and quality decline, but also in terms of trade restrictions, in terms of preventing spread, both regionally and across export markets and internationally. What we do know around the world is that potato yields is varying of potato yields. We have high production in places like the United States and a range of yield per hectare right across the world. And we see that there's much room for improvement where some of the yields are getting over 45 tonnes in some countries and some countries getting as low as 5 tonnes. And largely this is driven by seed quality and seed performance, and seed is a major contribution to this yield that we talk about around the world. So when we look at our part of the world, there's a lot of room for improvement to maximize yield and quality return. When we talk about seed, and I've mentioned this before, there's the formal versus the informal seed systems, and formal seed systems tend to be regulated. They're very a lot of quality assurance, a lot of traceability. They're governed by standards, rules, and regulations, frequent inspections from regulators such as Allspicker here in Australia. It ensures disease-free, uniform, and market-preferred varieties are available, and it supports international trade and large-scale commercial production. But it's also gives us reliability and productivity because we know what the starting material is. Informal systems, on the other hand, are farm-saved or locally exchanged seed, typically uncertified. There's no really official status. There's little or no regulation. There's variable quality depending on the system. There's higher risk of disease spread and degeneration, but it's more affordable and accessible for small holder farmers. It preserves local varieties and traditional practices as well. So it's much more bespoke and effective. But the key consideration is that both formal and informal systems coexist in many regions of the world. We even have here in Australia, while we have a certified seed program, it's not constitutionally binding, and people can volunteer in and out of that program to suit. And in other parts of the world, we know that formal systems do exist, but not largely adopted. But where there's opportunities where we can have integration and harmonisation, so we can strengthen food security, we can work out what works in what parts of the world, and with the main focus on clean seed to increase productivity and enhance regional trade. So when I talk about harmonisation of phytosanitary, I really mean about the seed standards that go with that, and how do we do that? So it's not just phytosanitary from an export regulation or an import regulation, but also how do we do it on a local level, on a local regional level, so more of thinking of those informal seed programs. By harmonisation and engaging, we can strengthen potato production and trade by reducing uncertainty, ensuring there's trust between trading partners and supply, and ensuring, most importantly, ensuring consistent quality and plant health outcomes. For farmers, this means a more reliable seed, fewer losses, lower costs, because they're making sure they're getting affordable seed, and better yields, better return on investment. For the supply chains, for the co-investors, it means there's some stability, there's some risk management, there's market confidence, and there's resilience to shocks, things like new and emerging pests and diseases. And climate change, how do we address changing disease and insect pressures with climate change? And seed quality has a role here to be played. So by enhancing the plant health and productivity, we can have uniform standards for seed and potato health. A harmonised approach can ensure the potatoes are consistently free from quarantine pests, things like potato cyst nematode, potato mop top virus, and potato spindle tuber viroid. This reduces the risk of introducing harmful pathogens into new regions. Enhancing plant health and productivity, we get improved production. That's what it's all about. The growers can get better yields. So when people align, growers can adopt best practices across borders, things like soil hygiene, rotation, testing practices in terms of science, and I'll touch on that in a little bit later, but leading to healthier crops and higher yields. Confidence in the inputs. Farmers know that seed is sourced from high quality, which reduces crop losses and variability. So we're managing expectations. People believe that the seed is higher health and better performing. So we can go from that 5 tonne to the hectare to the 50 tonne per hectare yield targets with confidence. So enhancing this plant health and productivity, the main focus is reducing crop losses due to pests and diseases attributed through that soil seed-borne pipeline, enhancing food security. But we can align science here as well. We can align with testing regimes and understanding of the biology of the beasts that we're dealing with. So this gives us know-how of how we can better manage some of these intractable disease issues through seed quality. And of course, we can facilitate international trade by removing technical barriers, expanding market access, and reducing disputes by having ongoing dialogue and harmonisation, or attempting to harmonise where we possibly can, technical issues. So through that, we can strengthen industry collaboration. And I believe this is a key part of APARI, about building those partnerships and building the trust. But we can have knowledge sharing and harmonised frameworks to encourage cooperation between regulators, researchers and industry groups across countries and across regions. We can have capacity building, so we can align with existing programs that are established, such as the United Nations Commission for Seed Potatoes, and gain technical input. We can build trust and traceability in seed and the confidence that goes with building seed pipelines. Most importantly, it's about quality seed at the end of the day, and how we have fit for purpose with high yield potential, the genetic integrity, the health status, the physiological quality of the seed, the yield potential and the traceability all need to be combined and assessed to have the maximum impact. So how do we go about doing this? And this is something I've challenged. I've nearly been in this role for nearly 17 years, and I've never had a discussion. I think this is the first discussion I've had in the Asia Pacific region about seed potatoes. So I see this as a huge opportunity to build a common understanding, to map out our baseline, to understand what are the key issues facing our region in terms of seed and seed quality. We can identify where there's overlaps and gaps, and see where we can actually utilize these to harmonize both science and quality of seed. So how do we implement that? We can align technical protocols, things like diagnostics that are used for assessing quality from an import-export point of view, but also from a regional issue of how do we actually determine what are issues and how they should be measured, how should they be sampled, what quality aspects should be used in terms of a formal system, but even in an informal system what quality assurance systems can be looked at to build the steps towards having better quality seed being produced. We can develop regional platforms, and this is where I think there's a huge role from APARI, but we can have working groups to look at regional potato phytosanitary, including regulators, industries and researchers, but where are there common issues, as I mentioned before? Is there a role for APARI to coordinate this progress? I don't know. I put a question mark there. And do we actually move to having pilot projects, start with bilateral agreements? And I'm saying I'm putting Australia out there because I'd love to actually have this partnership develop where we can actually start dialogue, where we can overcome some of our issue, well, understand our issues and then look for how do we forge solutions. And the final part is about building capacity and self-sufficiency. So training, I think, is a key part here too, that how do we train certifying officers, if we talk about certifiers, or growers, or diagnosticians, or regulators into how we actually go about having clean potato seed and the associated concepts and benefits. What infrastructure is required there? Do we need to invest in diagnostic capacity, traceability systems, or even at the tissue culture level, the mini tuber production level, to how that investment should flow? And at the end of the day, about how do we build self-sufficiency as well, so that if countries do have clean seed, how can they produce enough seed and quality domestically so that they're less reliant on imported seed? We know there were a lot of programs available, and this is just some of the programs from the United Nations Committee that I've been involved with, where we've developed capacity documentation on pests and diseases, or building certification schemes, or practices in the field. And there's a lot of this information available. It just needs to be applied and adopted where relevant. The key message, though, is harmonisation is not a one-off event. It's a process of building trust, technical alignment and institutional frameworks. So it's about where do we start, and it's about starting with clean seed and common protocols to create a foundation so that we can have farmer productivity, trading expansion and regional self-sufficiency for potatoes. We can also develop towards the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, in particular food security, looking for how we can protect potato crops in our region. And as we saw in the starting slides, the yield potential there is quite low at the moment, but there's a high potential to achieve greater food production from a smaller area. So we can have responsible consumption and production and reduce waste by having crops rejected or made non-viable for consumption. And there's a huge opportunity for economic development by having small holders of farmers in developing regions that can participate in market development. Some of the key debate issues I see along the way is the productivity versus affordability. How do we expand to have high quality seed without pricing out small holders? How do we develop self-sufficiency versus imports, and what's the balance that we should have there? Food security versus trade. So moving from an informal system to a formal system can be expensive and may not be relevant to all regions, but there are steps along the way. It doesn't have to be a jump from an informal system to a formal system of seed and seed certification. And how do we overcome trade barriers that may be in play as well? And that's going to be a challenge as well. But I think my takeaway slide here is participation is the key. So I suppose what I'm inviting for is all participants I welcome the discussion on seed potatoes, and I believe that there's a strong opportunity within our region to foster better seed quality and harmonisation of programs within the region. So I'll leave my discussion there. And again, just a plug for the World Potato Congress in Kenya. Ravi, I think
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Nigel. Thank you so much for such a succinct comprehensive presentation on the topic. And I think your topic has aroused a lot of interest in terms of how we really move ahead with the regional harmonization and what are the advantages of this regional harmonization for the farmers, for the supply chain, for risk management, for managing quarantine pests and so on. That was super clear, super clear. You gave a nice account of the production system of production of potato global and also the constraints, which was important, I believe. These constraints are where the challenges are, I mean, to do the risk management. And what I found was your emphasis on, because of this PVY and potato mop top and other bacterial wilt and all which you highlighted, where seed quality becomes an issue and seed certification comes to the rescue. So I think that was a very good point, very clear to everyone, where there are challenges, but there are opportunities and how we can move ahead. That was quite well explained. Besides that, I really liked your second half of your presentation, to be precise, because you gave a few takeaways to all of us, to the global community, I would say, not only regional. The importance of partnership, which I was surprised to know, like you said, in 17 years of your career, this is first time you are speaking on a regional platform. And in fact, we are lucky to have you. But we are so happy that you mentioned it, which means we should look for such more occasions to really talk more on such a platform. The partnerships really matter a lot. Thanks for highlighting that. And your that was a very important takeaway from your presentation. Second takeaway for me was the kind of capacity building being done, by Auspica and by you people globally, or maybe in Australia, or it depends where you all export, import, and all. The kind of capacity building which is done, which leads to quality seed. And quality seed is where you mentioned about aligning the technical protocols, which are very important factor and which is quite well taken. And then about the investment. Investment is the key, actually. If you look at the whole game plan of production, trade, quality, and all, investment is the key. And here, maybe next time we will request you to speak on how the investment is being done in case of like potato production, quality, and all. The investment by the private sector, the investment by the government, and how there is a blending investment. All that we would like to hear more. But you highlighted, you flagged that point. I'm very happy because the key which you showed at the end was very good. But for me, I took investment as the key for the for really harmonization at the regional platform with good quality production. So I would like to thank you a lot, Nigel. And actually, I'm in a vehicle traveling from one district in Bangladesh called Noshingi to Dhaka. And uh, so maybe I'm a bit shaky on the on the on the picture side, but I'm really happy. I enjoyed my journey also back to Dhaka from Noshingi, and wonderful. Thanks a lot, Nigel. I will now pass on to my colleague Paul to moderate the open discussion session and then give the closing remark. Yeah. Paul, over to you.
Thank you, Ravi. And very good talk, Nigel. It's quite good to listen to what you have to say about from a regional perspective. I'll ask the floor if there's any questions, but at the moment there is one question that popped up from SJ Abbas, and it's about could you give more details or elaborate on potato value addition products? There's no other vegetable that has the highest potential for its value addition. I'm not quite sure if Mr. Abbas would like to elaborate on his question? Or did you get the gist of that, Nigel?
First of all, thank you, Nigel, for your very good presentation. And before I go to my question, I will also like to share experiences when I was working for Pakistan Agricultural Research Council. We were given some potato seeds from South Korea to plant at various places in Pakistan. And we have had a very good experience of using South Korea potato seed in Pakistan. That is just a added addition for the audience. And my question is that, you know, the potato is one of the crop where vegetable where, you know, they make they make tomato chips from it. They make, of course, the home meal with this various kind of mixtures. Either it is with meat or with vegetable or with so many other things. So my question was basically that for increasing farmers' income, if all of us can discuss some more on the potato value additional products. That was my question, sir.
The potatoes are used for a lot of things. I mean, the main
Yeah.
drive we see is mostly processing the crisps and the chips that everyone likes. But there's also a lot of other products. Like there's a lot of research at the moment looking at medicinal products as well coming out of potatoes, which is, you know, high end value adding, that sort of stuff, which is in the discovery phases. But there's even things like potato milk being produced, and potato proteins are now high value outputs that are being looked at with potatoes. But more traditionally, I mean, potatoes that's a stable food source. So whether they're processed or whether they're consumed fresh, there's a whole heap of products and benefits that can be used, and depending on the industry and the country that they're in. But I think potatoes offer a lot of the other big thing that potatoes offer is if the yield can be done where you're getting up to 50 tons per hectare return, the volume of production from a small area of land is quite significant. And I think that's the main thing that potatoes seem to be offering compared to other commodities.
Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a question?
Yes, Paul, I have a question.
Dr. Ravi.
Yeah. Okay. Nigel, I would like to know about the trade of potato from Australia within the Asian region. How do you find the market here for the Australian potato?
So the feedback I get back from markets, so most of our potatoes will be going into Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia. Indonesia is a growing area for us, but the feedback is overwhelmingly positive. People are saying, you know, from farm saved seed, they might be getting that 5 tons per hectare. We've imported seed, they're getting up to that 50, anywhere from 40 to 50 tons per hectare. And that's growing. So our forecast at the moment is nearly a doubling of supply into some of these markets, largely driven by the crisping sector going into there. So it's quite positive, the feedback that we're actually getting. And a lot of that is on the background of doing additional testing here to make sure that things like potato virus Y and other diseases are not well established in the seed, and giving other quality assurances that the seed is at the highest level it can be.
Yeah, thanks. But for import, do you feel enough risk analysis, the pest risk analysis has been done by the Asian countries?
I think in some cases I think there's room for improvement. That's where I'd like to see some of the conversation go. So, for example, some countries limit powdery scab, for example, which is the vector for mop top virus. But are they managing powdery scab, or are they managing mop top virus? And I think it needs to be quite clear in what we're actually trying to do. And I think that's where I think having a technical conversation about what we're actually trying to achieve and how we're achieving it could be beneficial. I think it's also beneficial from the cost to see, because by having some zero tolerances such as that, it excludes a lot of seed that may be otherwise made available for that market. So there's opportunities to look at cost effectiveness of some of these tolerances as well.
Thanks. It was quite clear.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have a pressing question?
Yes, I have a question. Sanullah from Bangladesh.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep,
My
go
question
ahead.
is to Nigel. We are suffering from the disease Rustodium solanacearum, that is brown rot, and our potato export is sometimes hampered because of this disease. So how do we can remove this problem? Can you tell us anything about it? The
Brown rot,
process of removing.
brown rot is a major issue around the world, and one of the things is about having clean material. And it's easy to say to have clean material at the start. It's about how do we maintain that clean material as well. So some of the areas I think for brown rot management are looking at where that infection's happening as well. Is it happening early in the production? How many generations can be produced? Looking at the regional production systems, and just looking at where that source is and seeing if we can eliminate it. I know it's very easy, but brown rot is I've seen in Kenya, in the group in Kenya, they were suppressed by brown rot for many years, and I think they had yields below 5 tonnes per hectare. But I'm hearing of some of the yields now getting above 30 tonnes per hectare because they have been able to clean up the seed supply and look at where the traceability of the source, really. In other systems, I've actually seen brown rot in mini tuber productions as well. And I'm not going to say where, but there are challenges in how do you make sure that the material is clean. I mean, the movement of brown water in irrigation water and being contaminated in that early stage production can be a
Exactly. That is, it is transmitted through the irrigation water. So irrigation water is one of the main reasons. So the soil, it is to some extent soil borne. So it is very problematic for Bangladesh to remove this brown rot. That is why we are, as you know, we are at the top 10 production of potato of the world, Bangladesh. So, and we have the very opportunity to export of potato. But because of some issues, especially, we don't have any system of it, either Lobodara Paradi or Synthetic and Vitican. But we are very much facing problem for the brown rot.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a challenge, and it's something that is there. I don't think there's a magic solution to it, but I think it's about as I said before, looking at where those sources are potentially and seeing where it can be alleviated. But when it's established in water pathways and in contaminated soil, it becomes very difficult to eradication is not an option. It's about how do we suppress it and live with that. And there, countries in Europe have the same challenges as well about how they manage their irrigation water and alike, just to reduce that reinfection from occurring. So it's a huge challenge, but it'd be something to very worthwhile to look at, and sounds like it's a challenge that you have there too.
Yeah, Nigel, can I ask you a question? The private sector comes in at various levels within the food chain of all potato production, and I'm looking at the end of that chain, which is the food processing companies, and there's some big money associated with food production. So where do you see the role of the private sector then in the food chain in the production through the production to the end, where there's obviously maximum profits, but in context of the different geopolitical regions in the countries in the region?
Look, I think it's a good question, Paul. I think the consumer's the ultimate end user, not the processing companies that make the profits and that sort of stuff as well. So the consumer's the main driver. But look, it's those structures that if they're investing in processing plants worth millions of dollars, they need to be able to have quality material to justify that investment. So a lot of the companies that we work with, the McCain's, the PepsiCo's and the like, are the ones that are driving the need for clean seed and the need to have that high quality seed going into that production system, both abroad in exports, but also here locally as well. The return to the farmer, their farmers, they need their farmers to be profitable as well that are supplying those factories. The best way for the farmers to be profitable is to have high quality yield and maximize their performance from their return. So yes, I think they are major partners in the program, as are the growers themselves and as are the consumers.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a sort of it's like a cycle, isn't it? Because you've got good farmers, good production, you've got better production down the end, and then the consumer benefits. So it's an all-in system, and that's pretty much what's been cultivated in Australia with the industry. It starts with good production right through. Is any other further questions? All quiet there. I'd like to maybe just sum up a little bit and get some of the takeaway messages from the presentation, from the session today. Potatoes are produced across a range of climates. You can see from the tropical to the temperate areas, and that in itself poses a lot of issues and problems, and particularly in the pest and disease area. Also in the ability to have varieties that are adapted to the climates and to the climate zones. And that's another area where, again, the private sector could come in, be involved in with this sort of working with governments in the supply of materials to test for adaptation. But all these, and this is the key point to your presentation, was about the challenge to harmonise phytosanitary standards. I think that's one of the most important things. Potatoes are traded across the region, within the region, and so you've got to have this a better, good phytosanitary standards, and this will all build to a common understanding in the region, and hopefully that was also working with the private sector. So these are some of the challenges. There's a lot of challenges there, but I think that we can build to a better industry, a better production. Everyone can gain within that cycle by having particularly good phytosanitary systems and harmonisation across the region. And I think...
Well, just interrupt there. One of the key things I think there too, and your question about the private sector, and Ravi talked about investment as well being the key driver. I like to flip it a little bit in the sense that I think there's a lot of private sector sitting there wanting things to happen, but they're looking for the leadership to make it happen. So I think if we can clearly show leadership in looking for harmonisation in protocols, I think it's only a matter of tapping on the door to the private sector to say, this is what we can achieve and how we can go about achieving it, and the two will happen. But at the moment, those processors that are doing their business, they looking at regulation and that sort of stuff is very consuming, and it's not their core business. So I think there's a key thing here about leadership and participation and driving to seek for that investment.
Okay, good. I would like to think that APARI could play a role in the region in harmonising and building the productions and the phytosanitary issues, capacity building in pest and disease recognition and mitigation of some of these issues, and we could work across the region, and that would be very good. And getting the input from a recognised industry player like Auspica into the system. Okay, so I've sort of given a bit of a summary and a takeaway on some of the important messages here. If there's no further issues or points that anybody would like to raise, we can hand back to Hamara. Okay. Hamara, did you want to come in now? Hello, Hamara. Oh, well, I guess Hamara might have had some communications, some issues there where she is. So, look, it's okay. I can wrap up and thank you for a very informative talk today. And I hope it's grabbed the imagination of a lot of people within representing the different sort of countries and areas that are in today's webinar. And we look forward to developing protocols and collaborations working towards the future. Okay, so I'd like to thank you very much. I'd like to thank all the participants for coming. And yep, that's it. We'll just sort of probably sum it up there if there's nothing else to be discussed.
Thank
Nigel.
you. Thank you, Paul. Look forward to anyone wants to say good day. Happy to chat by email or any other way.
Okay. All right. Well, Ravi, you need to finish up. Say anything. I see you're still in the car.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just wanted to thank Nigel profusely. Such a succinct talk, and there are a few things which I have noted. We'll be discussing, Nigel, with you, and we can zoom that part, maybe in one of the future sessions, we can zoom that part and we can get the best out of you, Nigel, with time. But thank you so much.
Look forward to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you
Bye-bye.
for the next session.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Paul. Also.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.